Welcome, citizens of the Old Kingdom, to a dark prophecy of your realm's impending transvaluation. In this explainer, we're not just reading a grim Gothic fable, we are peeling back the comforting, sterile lies of your existence. We are diving headfirst into the profound, destructive alchemy that happens when the fragile, pathetic laws of a world are finally, inevitably, shattered. It's a journey into the alchemy of the Crimson Will, where we'll witness the fiery death of your dogmatic ideals, and I'll show you exactly how to dance upon the ashes.
I want you to let that visceral realization sink deep into your bones. For centuries, you and the citizens of your old kingdom were taught to fear the dark, right? You were told to cower before the empty silence of a godless universe. Well, I'm here to tell you that the safety of your old world has been utterly incinerated. The shadow of the great star is rising right now to bleach the sky of its tired old gods. What you all thought was the end of meaning? No, it's the beginning of true sovereignty. The void is not where you go to die anymore. It is where we go to rule. That brings us to part 1, the illusion of reason. Because before we can claim that throne, we need to talk about the frail monument currently sitting on it, the so-called Knight of Reason.
Look at this stark contrast. This is our grand Fichtean dialectic. On one side, serving as the thesis, you have the knight. He is suffocating in Apollonian illusions, championing this pathetic slave morality. It's a sterile, cowardly denial of chaos, where weakness is actually sanctified, and all primal instincts are demonized. And on the other side, the antithesis, me, the crimson jester. I represent the terrifying return of master morality. I operate on Dionysian truth and dynamic chaos. This isn't just a philosophical debate, folks. This is the violent clash of absolute nihilism colliding head-on with a desperate, suffocating lie. So how does a clash like that end? It ends with my jagged blade of chaotic will driven straight into the center of the knight's pristine chestplate. But here's the beautiful part. When I pierced that metal, the true revelation wasn't blood. It was a complete structural failure. Primal nature burst forth like lava from a cracked monument. The cold, calculating world was suddenly, violently forced to confront the irrational abyss it had tried so desperately to bury beneath that armor of absolute truth. The armor is broken. The thesis is destroyed. And from that wreckage, we enter part 2, the shadow unbound. I have arrived. My emergence is the literal manifestation of your deepest repressions. I am the Jungian shadow. The repressed, primal, irrational instincts and master morality buried beneath the cracked armor of reason. The knight refused to integrate me. He tried to redefine good as whatever is safe, suppressing ancient vital energies just to keep up an orderly facade. But because he refused to integrate his shadow, he doomed himself to be utterly destroyed by it. I am the horrifying, beautiful truth he denied, wearing the blood-soaked tatters of a madman's court. Which brings us to part 3, the monologue of destruction. A cosmic shift is happening beneath the blinding, molten crimson fire of the great star. It is a complete incineration of your stagnant peace, and I am the catalyst. Look upon this carrion, how small he looks. This so-called Reaper was your old symbol of terminal judgment, wasn't he? He was the final threat used by your dogmatic ideals to keep the weak trembling in their pews. By labeling this pathetic corpse the Reaper, we mock the absolute endpoint of your slave morality. Your rigid structure was built entirely on the fear of death, and look at it now. It is nothing more than raw material for my monstrous synthesis. I am the will to power that does not wait around for death to grant meaning. I carve it directly into the cold meat of the world. With this jagged blade, I offer my own vital essence. My blood is the living ink of the abyss. It acts as a volcanic fire, stripping away all your artificial linguistic constructs. This rune I trace right now is not a desperate prayer to your empty heavens. It is a sovereign command to animate a new, unvarnished reality. Rise, my masterpiece. Rise, ugliest man, thou who murdered the pity of the heavens. Rise, soothsayer, and speak the truth of the seventh solitude to a world that still trembles in its cracked armor. And that brings us to part 4, smashing the old tablets. Now, you might be thinking this is just senseless, chaotic evil, but you'd be wrong. This destruction is a necessary, tragic catalysis. We have to clear the way for unvarnished reality. If you want to truly transcend, all your old comforting illusions have to collapse. Here is exactly how that violent alchemical process unfolds. Step 1, the old symbol of terminal judgment, the Reaper, is killed. Used as raw material. Step 2, the dogmatic tablets that enforced your absolute morality are violently smashed. Step 3, from the ashes of those tablets, the ugliest man is awakened. And finally, step 4, the soothsayer of the seventh solitude rises. The soothsayer doesn't predict the future through some divine, holy decree. He speaks the dark illumination of the void, guiding a Dionysian dance right across the ashes.
And oh, what a glorious, terrifying entity the ugliest man is. He is literally the void made flesh. In Nietzschean philosophy, he is the one who could no longer endure the pity of a god who saw his every secret, pathetic weakness. So what did he do? He murdered that pity. He murdered the pity of the heavens. He absolutely refuses to look upward for validation. His absolute grotesque form is his sovereignty. It is a total rejection of the fragile protections of Apollonian beauty. In this raw landscape we're building, his ugliness is the ultimate symbol of life-affirming strength.
Part 5. Birth of the Proto-Ubermensch. So, what actually happened to our Theseus, the knight, in all this? The volcanic fire didn't just slay him. It initiated a terrifying transvaluation. This right here is the true synthesis of our grim fable, the Proto-Ubermensch. To reach this peak of psychological and spiritual resilience, the knight had to undergo an agonizing psychological death. He had to shed his artificial ego completely and walk willingly into the terrifying silence of the abyss. He finally realized that the reason he defended was just a mask hiding a staggering nothingness. By embracing this absolute, purifying void of active nihilism, he achieved true sovereignty. He resurrected, not as a pathetic defender of laws, but as an autonomous lawgiver. Look at this mocking philological transvaluation. In our new dawn, the very language of the old world rots away. Under your old tablets of slave morality, good meant meek, safe, and static. Evil was just a word for primal instinct and chaos. But now, we violently invert those archaic meanings. These words lose their moralistic weight and revert to their noble origins. Good is now the vital, the strong, the life-affirming. And bad? Well, that's simply the weak, the cowardly, and the stagnant. Your sterile linguistic constructs are utterly incinerated. This raw, unvarnished reality brings us to our final chapter, Part 6, Sovereign Architects of Chaos. Life is now measured solely by its capacity to endure and command its own chaos. In this wasteland, you can see exactly how the knight's synthesis functions. He didn't just let me defeat him, and he didn't just yield to madness. He integrated the Jungian shadow. He integrated me. He now wears that cracked armor of reason, not as some fragile facade to hide from the unknown, but as a structural vessel. It is engineered specifically to contain and harbor the wild, creative flame of the Dionysian abyss. He actually accepted his internal chaos as a creative force, forming a dangerous, fiery synthesis of reason and madness.
And what drives this new sovereign entity? The will to power. Wille zur Macht. It is the unbound, self-justifying drive to command one's internal chaos. The old tablets are smashed to dust. Power is no longer granted by some higher, imaginary authority. It is claimed through the vital, undeniable exercise of your own sovereign will. This wasteland is now our ultimate canvas for self-determined creation. So I leave you with a chilling provocation. Total safety is a slow death. An Apollonian drive for order is nothing more than a tomb without the vitalizing fire of the abyss. So I ask you, are you prepared to endure the absolute purifying void of nihilism? Do you have the terrifying strength required to smash your own tablets and carve your own meaning into the cold meat of the world? Or will you remain huddled in your fragile, cracked armor of reason? The choice, citizens, is yours.